Hey there, YouTube. Welcome back to Atlantic City. Today, wanted to give you a little update on some of the road stories and a quick musical recommendation. And I think where we left off was back in 1973, and I had gone to the spring shows, and when I came home, I had sold a few T-shirts and stuff, and realized that you could actually move this stuff. And I was working full time at this point after school, restaurants, dishwashing, table bussing, bar backing, whatever you had to do. So I actually had a paycheck coming in every week, which came in real handy. Well, over the next 6 months or so, I spent a lot of time tie-dyeing T-shirts and getting stuff ready when the fall tour came around. I had a couple, 200 to 300 shirts, all prepped and ready to go. My old man left behind one of those big army duffel bags, the big, like 4 feet long, big round thing, with the big strap on it. Well, I loaded that thing up with shirts, and we went to the fall. I went to the fall shows in Philly, and by the end of the second night, I was sold out. And had actually went back home at the end of that night to get some more shirts and sold more on the third night. I was selling them $6 a piece, 2 for $10. Which was about normal prices for the day. And made out pretty well. Now you sell the better part of 200 shirts. You got a nice little piece of money, especially in the 1970s when you was just a kid. And of course, that money helped me along the way to increase, what was going to be done the next time around. And it was funny, you quickly learn that if you're wearing a tie-dye T-shirt and look like you're carrying a bunch of bags or a backpack or something, and you're thumbing down the highway on your way to a show, somebody's going to pick you up. There's always people coming from every direction, and you'd be surprised at how far I was able to get, even in reasonable amounts of time. Back in those days, I made it all the way. I made it as far away back from, I said I was living in southern New Jersey, in the suburbs of Philadelphia, on the Jersey side of the river. I made it back as far away as the Capitol Theater, just north of New York City, in the same night, which is, was phenomenal. So having that flexibility to be able to travel, just thumbing. I could work all the way from Baltimore to above New York City and still make it back, quickly, which was great. It opened up more opportunities to make a little bit of extra money, and it worked out really well. But so that's what got everything started, and that worked me into 1974, which was a much more successful year for me. And we'll go into that a little bit later. Musical recommendation-wise, if you want to check in on some of this music, There's a real good series on YouTube by the Grateful Dead called Dick's Picks. Dick's Picks were from a guy named Dick Lotvada, who worked for the Grateful Dead. He was in charge of their archive. The Grateful Dead recorded every concert that they ever played, even in the very beginning, when there was almost no money. They recorded every concert. And as time went on, the quality of these tapes got dramatically better, as did their performances, So by the time you hit the, 1969, you were getting really good concert tapes that were coming out off the soundboard from these shows, and the Dead has hundreds of them, hundreds and hundreds of them. But Dick Lotvada went through and picked out the very best stuff, and the band eventually released it as on compact disc. And these are really good shows. They're a great place to start if you're not aware of who the Grateful Dead is, especially in that live forum, because their live stuff was dramatically different than what they did in the studio. This would be a great place to start if you want to check some of this stuff out. And if you're already familiar with these, if you want something that is non-Grateful Dead material, one of the best suggestions I can make to you is to look up a band called Legion of Mary. Legion of Mary was a band that Jerry Garcia put together only for the year 1975. The Grateful Dead was off the road in 1975 because hauling around the Wall of Sound basically bankrupted the band. So they were off the road in 75, and the last time that they ever used the Wall of Sound was a 5-night stand at Winterland in San Francisco, and they filmed it. And those 5 nights worth of film and recordings would go on to be the Grateful Dead movie. And Garcia and some of the boys spent the year 1975 editing that film and getting it together and launching it. And they also prepared to create a whole new sound system that was much smaller than the Wall of Sound, that wouldn't bankrupt them trying to transport it. The Wall of Sound was an amazing thing. I got to see it in 74. It was an amazing thing. And the sound was second to none. But like I said, the expenses of breaking it down and moving it were just astronomical, and they just couldn't be handled. But anyway, the musical recommendations, check out Dick's Picks on YouTube. There's plenty of things out there. There's quite a bit, actually. And if you want to listen to some non-Grateful Dead material, the one thing that the Grateful Dead did, they were a great cover band. They played a lot of covers in their show. And Garcia did a lot of covers in the Jerry Garcia band, and as well in this Legion of Mary. The Legion of Mary is just utterly phenomenal. It's a slightly bigger band than what the Garcia band usually traveled with, because these were all local San Francisco musicians, and they rarely ever played outside of town. They were most of the dates that they played were in that San Francisco, metro area. They didn't travel far. I never got to see them, but there's a 3-hour concert on YouTube under the heading Legion of Mary. I think it's May something, 1975, May 12th or 21st or something. I don't remember off the top of my head right now. But there's a 3-hour concert, and from that 3-hour concert, they pulled the material for an album called Live at Keystone, which is phenomenal. So just a couple of recommendations if you want to listen to some of the music. Pardon me, of just the things that I'm talking about. Maybe you'll get a little background on it, or you'll discover something new. Either way, can't be bad. So just a little quick update, and I hope you enjoy the music that's on Dick's Picks and the Legion of Mary. I think you'll have a good time with that stuff. The Legion of Mary stuff is really interesting because they're not really songs that you've heard a lot of. They sort of did, like folky covers and different things, and a lot of they did soul music, soul records as part of their repertoire, but they changed the arrangements around. It's some really interesting stuff, and I hope you enjoy, and I will see you back up on the boardwalk soon. Thanks, YouTube. Bye-bye.